and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 14 of the Halloween Craft Countdown, where I'm sharing 20 Halloween-themed Cricut projects in 20 days. 10 of the projects are designed by me, and 10 are guest designer projects from some of my crafting friends. Today's project is by Gina C. Creates, and it's this beautiful papercraft trick-or-treat banner. After many years of designing, Gina gained her expertise once she owned her first Cricut. Her speciality is creating SVG cut files for her fellow crafters. She strives for creative, easy-to-use cut files. You can find more designs by Gina at ginacreates.com. I love the pink pastel colour scheme of Gina's Halloween trick-or-treat banner. However, if traditional Halloween colours are more your style, don't worry, Gina has kindly also included a second version of the cut file with a more typical Halloween colour scheme. The files for this project are free for the next 24 hours. Here's how to download them. Register a free ticket for the Halloween Craft Countdown at craftwithsarah.com/HCC23. If you're already registered, check for an email from me with subject line Halloween Craft Countdown ticket information, or any of the other emails from me that you've been sent throughout the countdown. Can't find them? Check your junk or spam box to see if they've gone there by mistake. These emails contain the link to view the countdown projects and download today's files. Scroll down this page to find today's project. Click the button to start the files automatically downloading to your computer or mobile device. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you've missed some, check out the Instant Access Bundle at craftwithsarah.com/HCC23 bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all of the files from the Halloween Craft Countdown, plus loads of extra bonus designs. All downloads come in zip folders. You will need to unzip them before you can upload the files into Cricut Design Space.
Hi everyone, I am Gina from Gina C. Creates, and welcome to the Halloween Countdown. For today's project, I am going to show you how to make this cute trick-or-treat banner just using some layered cardstock. Of course, I went with a pink color scheme because I love a pink Halloween. But I also included SVG that has traditional Halloween colors for you to enjoy. So now let's get started to make this trick-or-treat banner with our Cricut Explorer Air 2. You can also use any machine of the Explorer family and the Maker family. You can even use your Cricut Joy. It will just take a little bit more time since you would have to fit piece by piece. Here is a few supplies you will need. I'm going to be using foam tape and foam squares. You might need some blue painter's tape to hold down your cardstock. We're going to be using the Bearly Art craft glue, a lighter with some ribbon. I'm using this black and white stripe one from Michaels. It is 3/8 of an inch thick, and then you'll need your Cricut tools. Here is the cardstock I'm using. It is the Recollection brand from Michaels as well, with 65 pound in weight. And here are some of the solid color cardstocks I'm using. I'm using 4 of the dark pink cardstocks, and then I have 4 more shades, and you'll need 1 of each. And then for the lightest pink, you're going to need 2 sheets. And then I have some white cardstock. You'll need 2 sheets. And then I have a black cardstock, and you'll only need 1 of those. And here is some of my specialty paper. I have a foil pink. I have 3 of the holographic. And then I have 2 of the glitter pink. And I have 2 of the glitter white cardstock. And then I have 2 of the glitter black. And these are all the cardstocks that I'll be using for my banner. To get started, we are going to download my zip folder from the Halloween Countdown. And you are going to want to right click and extract all files. And inside you'll find the SVG file along with my free license to use my design for personal use. I'll also have a second SVG file in there for you with traditional Halloween colors. So we're going to open up Cricut Design Space, and we're going to go to Upload. Then we'll find our Downloads folder, and then we will go to the file we just extracted, and we're going to upload the Trick or Treat Banner SVG, and it is going to save as a cut image. You just save it to your library, and you import it into your canvas. And once the file imports, it should be 27.64 in width. And this will make each little pendant 4 by 6 inches. Next, you can ungroup the SVG, and you can see over here on the layers panel, I have each color grouped just so it's easy to select and you can change the colors easily instead of one by one. So I have them grouped by color in case you don't want to use this pink color scheme and you want to select your own colors. You can do so just by selecting each group at a time. So I have this gray layer, which is going to be my foil holographic cardstock. And then for the offset of the letters, I'm going to be using the pink glitter cardstock. And then for this dark gray, it's like an off black color, I'm going to be using the black glitter cardstock. And for the true black, I'm just going to be using the regular black cardstock. And then for all these different pinks in between, I'm going to be using regular cardstock. And then for these white layers, I'm going to be using the white cardstock. And for the top skinny layer of the spider webs, I am going to be using the white glitter cardstock. And then for the gray offset of the spider webs is going to be the holographic cardstock again. And for this bright pink on my candy wrapper, I'm going to be using the foil pink. And for my banner pieces of this light color, I'm going to be using those 2 sheets of the lightest pink. And then for the back pieces, I'm going to be using the dark pink. And then we're going to send it to the mat. And next we are going to change our material sizes to 8.5 by 11 letters because that is the cardstock I'm going to be using. If you're using a different size, you can make sure you select the correct material size. And I just like to do this because it will organize all the colors for the shapes to fit on your piece of paper. So once I go through all that, changing each color of my material size, I am going to go back and make sure that I'm not wasting any cardstock. So you can press the 3 dots on the side of a shape and then you can select which mat you want to send it to. So just so you can use up your cardstock and not waste any, I'm just going to select some shapes and move it to the mat because sometimes you'll have some room for your pieces to fit and the computer just didn't register it. So I'm just going to go through and make sure I'm not wasting any cardstock and just organizing my mats to utilize each piece. So once we are done with that, we are going to cut on Cardstock Plus for my regular solid color pieces. And then for any glitter or the foil cardstock, we're going to cut on a custom setting. And that would be glitter cardstock and foil cardstock. So when cutting cardstock, I like to use a standard grit mat, but I want to make sure that it is not brand new and it's kind of dull and used and worn down. You don't want to use a brand new mat or a very sticky mat because it can make your cardstock rip or curl when removing it from a very sticky mat. So when you have to remove it from the mat, you're going to want to flip over your mat face down and roll back the mat while keeping the other hand down on the cardstock, and this will keep it from curling up when removing it. And make sure after each cut that you get all the little excess pieces off. You can use your Cricut scraper to clean your mat and make sure there's no debris left on the surface before laying down your new piece of cardstock. And for my glitter cardstock, it can be a little thick, so I like to use the blue painter's tape to hold down my cardstock in place. This just helps keep your cardstock in place and on the mat when you're cutting. So just make sure you are cutting on the appropriate setting every time you're changing your cardstock material. And then I like to stay organized and put each piece in a pile so I won't lose any, so it can be easier to assemble. Once you have all your cardstock layers cut out and organized, we can begin to assemble using our foam tape or your foam squares and your craft glue. I'm going to start with my cardstock letters. You should have two layers, one with the offset in the back. And I am just going to flip over the top layer and place my foam squares on the back. And then you're just going to layer it straight on top and centered, and then move on to each letter at a time. You can use 3 to 4 foam squares. It shouldn't take a lot just because they're so small and light. You don't need a lot of tape. And once we have all our trick or treat letters layered and assembled over the offset, we can move on to our Halloween characters. You can use foam tape or foam squares. Just make sure that they are the same thickness because some of them do come a little bit more thicker than others, and you're just going to want to be consistent when layering your characters together so one height isn't taller than the other. Next, we're going to make the little pink bow for our ghost, and you're just going to need a little bit of glue, and I'm just going to fold over the bow and have it meet in the middle on each side. You might need to hold it down for a while to make sure it dries. And then we're just going to wrap the center tail of the bow around the whole thing once. And then we're just going to put some more craft glue and have it dry. And we're going to place it on top of our ghost. And next we're moving on to our little pumpkin candy buckets. I'm just putting glue on the back of the jack-o'-lantern's face and placing it over my black shape. And then I'm putting foam tape on the back of those. And then I'm just layering it on top of my candy bucket. And for our Halloween candy, I'm just going to use some craft glue to layer these pieces on. I didn't want to use foam tape because I feel like the pieces are a little bit too small, and craft glue would work better for this design. And to give our Halloween bats a little bit more dimension, I'm just going to fold over the bat wings, and then I'm going to place my straight edge on the back of it and fold it the other way. And these will just create little arches in the bat wings. Next, we are going to layer the spider webs. It has 3 layers, and you just want to make sure they're all facing the correct way when layering them. Luckily for my specialty paper, it's only one-sided, so I know which way it should face. But if you're doing like the solid cardstocks, and you just want to make sure they're facing the same direction when layering them together. I do draw these by hand, and they're not always symmetrical. And so when lining these up, you're going to have that straight edge flush with all 3 layers. And then the offset will be on the opposite sides around the spider web. And once we have all our small pieces layered together, we can begin to assemble the banner. And they do have 2 layers each. We have all the dark pieces on the back, and then we have one that's going to be black. And I'm just going to layer the top inset on top, and I'm going to make sure I put the foam tape in the center so it's not going to cover the holes on the back layer, because you're going to want our ribbon to be able to come through on each side. So just make sure you're mindful when putting down the foam tape on the top so you don't cover up the holes when you lay it down directly on top. And the top is going to be flushed and the sides will have the offset. So once we have all of them layered together, you can lay out your pattern. And now we can lay out our design on our banner. And we're going to start with the spider web. And I do have my computer screen open so I can see the SVG design in Design Space, so I know which directions the spider web should go. And I'm just going to use some craft glue all around and in the center of the back of the spider web and place it onto my banner. And once you have all your spider webs glued down, we can now move on to our letters. So I like to lay out all the letters on the flag so I can see how it's going to look before I actually glue them down. And for these, we're actually going to use some foam tape just to give it more depth. So I'm just placing more foam squares on the back of each letter. And then I'm just going to place it right in the center of each flag. And then you can just follow the next one to see that you have each letter lined up correctly. And once all our letters are attached to the banner, we can now move on to our little characters. And I'm referring to my screen to see how each piece is laid out. And now I'm just going to take my craft glue and I'm going to apply a small amount to each of my characters and place it onto my banner. And I was really happy with how my banner was turning out. I just love how the bold black and white looked against the pinks. And I was a little worried about all my different color choices, but I'm really happy with how this banner came out. And next I'm going to cut my ribbon into 8-inch strips so I can connect my banner together. I'm going to need 9 of these, but if you're going to hang it on one line, then you'll need 10 of them. And then I'm just going to burn the edges to make sure that there's no frills for the ribbon when I'm hanging it. So you can hang your banner on one line like this. It can be long all the way across, or you can stack it on top of each other and make it 2 different lines. So I have 9 of these 8-inch strips, and I'm just going to put them through the back and have them coming out onto the front. And then I am going to tie a double knot for them to connect together. So I use 4 of the ribbons on the top line, and then I'm going to use 5 of them on the bottom line. And notice I'm not making a bow, I'm just tying it twice so it doesn't come undone, and just letting the ribbon hang to each side. And now that we have all the banner pieces connected together, we are going to attach the string to hang it on each side. And this piece I cut to 20 inches long. So I'm just going to put it through the front and then make a little knot in the back so it can stop and hang from the knot. So you're just going to push it through the front and make a little knot on the string and then hang it. So I hope you guys get to make this layered trick-or-treat banner for Halloween. Let me know what color scheme you will be trying out for your banner. And I want to welcome you guys all over to Gina C Creates. If you love this project, I have many more at ginaccreates.com. You can create a free account to download my free SVG files. I also have a paid membership that will give you access to my entire SVG shop and have unlimited commercial license for small business use. So I hope to see you guys there at ginaccreates.com. See you next time.
I hope you enjoyed this video on how to make a Halloween trick-or-treat papercraft banner. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and Halloween fun. I hope to see you tomorrow for day 15 of the Halloween Craft Countdown. Don't forget, the links to get the cut file for today's project is craftwithsarah.com/HCC23, but they're only free to download for 24 hours after this video goes live. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!